is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission, broadcasting from Ankara in the 49-meter band between 22:30 and 23:30 UTC on 6050 kHz to Europe, between 00:30 and 01:30 UTC in the 31-meter band on 9610 kHz to South Asia and Australia, between 0200 and 0300 UTC in the 49-meter band and on 5960 kHz to Europe, Eastern USA and Canada, and in the 31-meter band on 9660 kHz between 2030 and 2130 UTC to Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. The Voice of Turkey is also beamed between 0700 and 0800 UTC in the 49-meter band and on 6125 kHz to Europe, the USA, Eastern Canada and Cuba, between 0700 and 0800 UTC in the 41-meter band on 7285 kHz to Iraq, Syria, Jordan and the Arabian Peninsula. You can listen to us over the Turksat 3A and Turksat 4A satellites and on the internet at www.crt.net.tr through the Voice of Turkey link. Please note that transmissions broadcast between 2300 and 0000 UTC and between 0400 and 0500 UTC have been pre-recorded. Our email address is englishdesk@crt.net.tr. Ladies and gentlemen, today is Sunday, the 3rd of December 2023. This is the Voice of Turkey's English language transmission, broadcasting from our studios in capital Ankara. Let's start with the news. Israel declares that end in talks to resume pause in Gaza. Negotiations in Qatar to resume a humanitarian pause in Gaza have reached that end. The office of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in an official statement. Netanyahu's office said David Barnea, the head of Israel's Mossad, ordered a delegation of the intelligence agency to return to Tel Aviv, accusing Palestinian resistance group Hamas of not fulfilling its side of an agreement to extend the pause. The deal had included the release of all women and children hostages held in Gaza in accordance with a list conveyed to Hamas and agreed upon, noted the statement. No official comment has yet been made by Hamas on the statement. The Israeli army resumed bombing Gaza early Friday after declaring an end to a week-long humanitarian pause. At least 193 Palestinians have been killed and 652 injured since Friday in Israeli airstrikes, which have reached, as of Sunday, December the 3rd, its 58th day, and has killed more than 15,207 Palestinians, most of whom are women and children, and more than 40,000 people have been ministry. The strikes especially hit Al-Bush, Deir al-Balah, and areas east of Rafah. The death toll in Gaza has risen to 15,207, with the number of wounded surpassing 40,000. Officials believe that thousands of bodies remain under the rubble due to Israeli strikes. Simultaneously, Israeli forces conducted additional raids in the occupied West Bank, intensifying tensions in the region. While Israel has pounded crowded southern Gaza and ordered more neighborhoods designated for attack to evacuate, driving up the death toll, as the United States and others urged it to do more to protect civilians. In the meantime, President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said he expects the International Criminal Court to ensure accountability for the battles of Gaza, particularly Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Speaking to journalists on board his presidential plane that was returning from Dubai, where he attended the COP28 UN Climate Summit, President Erdogan emphasized the need for granting necessary punishments for those caught red-handed in incidents in Gaza. They will closely follow the proceedings in Hague, Erdogan said, expressing hope that the decision would bring a sense of justice to those waiting. Condemning Israeli actions in Gaza, Erdogan said, "This is state terrorism. We cannot stay silent against this state terrorism." Meanwhile, criticizing the UN Security Council, the President of Brazil said the body's failure to enforce respect for its decisions is part of the cause for the ongoing bombardment of Gaza. What we are lacking is sanity and authority on the part of the leadership that are part of the UN Security Council, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva said in an interview with Al Jazeera. If we had true leaders, if we had a body that makes a decision that would be respected and complied with, and that should be the body of the United Nations Security Council, we would not have this war, he underlined. Referring to the thousands of casualties, including children, and the bombing of hospitals in Gaza, Lula described the situation as madness. He emphasized that Israel has a right to self-defense, but criticized the unnecessary killing of innocent women and children. He called for peaceful coexistence between the states of Palestine and Israel. Urging a diplomatic solution to the conflict, Lula criticized U.S. President Joe Biden for lacking the sensitivity to call for a halt to the fighting, pointing out Washington's influence over Israel. Lula also criticized Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, describing him as a leader with low sensitivity to humanitarian issues, emphasizing the need for respect towards the Palestinian people. The Israeli army resumed bombing Gaza early Friday after declaring an end to a week-long humanitarian pause with the Palestinian resistance group Hamas. French President Emmanuel Macron has warned that Israel's aim of eliminating the Palestinian resistance group Hamas risked unleashing a decade of war. I think we are at a point where the Israeli authorities are going to have to define their objective and desired end state more precisely, Emmanuel Macron said at a press conference on the sidelines of United Nations COP28 climate talks in Dubai on Saturday. During an unprecedented attack on October 7, Hamas fighters broke through Gaza's militarized border into Israel, killed about 1,200 people, and took around 240 Israelis and foreigners hostage, according to Israeli authorities. Israel vowed to eliminate Hamas in response and unleashed an air and ground campaign that has killed more than 15,000 people, mostly civilians and children, authorities in Gaza said. What is the total destruction of Hamas, and does anyone think it's possible? If it is, the war will last 10 years, Emmanuel Macron of France said on Saturday. Thousands, meanwhile, took to the streets in European capitals Saturday to protest Israeli attacks and demand a ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. Demonstrators once again held a number of protests to urge their governments to pleasure Israel in the face of an ongoing dire humanitarian situation in the besieged enclave. In France, protesters held rallies across the country, including in Toulouse, Nice, and as well as Paris, in support of Palestine. Gathering at the Republic Square in Paris, the crowd held a march toward the Bastille Square, chanting pro-Palestinian slogans. French rapper Kerry James, LA France, and Louis Thomas supporters, Louis Bourriot, Mathilde Panot, Carl Martin Blanco, former French presidential candidate Jean-Luc Mélenchon were among attendees. Reporters told Anadolu Agency of Turkey that Israel started the massacre in Gaza again after a short period. Mentioned the killings of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank, he noted that illegal pharaohs are killing children and Israel is committing ethnic cleansing. Reporters criticized the international community and the French government for remaining silent against what is happening in Gaza. He vowed to keep staging rallies to pressure Israel. Algerian disabled protester Hassan Ghani said that he attended the protest to support Palestinians in Gaza.